there was no sound for us for the intro, so it was uncomfortably long.
Yeah, you don't realize.
We were ready to do the intro, and then it just kind of sat there for a couple more seconds. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Kinda Funny's Ahsoka breakdown on the Kinda Funny screencast. We're coming close to the end of this, which is making me pretty damn sad.
Yeah.
We only have one episode left, the finale next week. But of course, I am Tim Geddes. I'm joined by the saddest boy I've ever met in my life, Barrett Courtney.
Go to Saige first, because I forgot to get a quote.
Well,
No, here we go. I hope I survive long enough to see the outcome. It's my mood every day.
Yes, that is fair. That is fair. Joining us from the regular location of remote, it is Anthony Carboni.
What's up, everybody?
Your boy.
It looks like it looks like C-3PO is being like censored, like he's inappropriate.
Yeah, it really does.
My boy is always appropriate. Always appropriate.
And rounding out the group at the spare bedroom itself, it's Saige Ryan.
Hello. And usually Anthony and I get to talk about these before we do this because we're in the same location coming from our show.
Yeah.
Which means I just had to watch an episode featuring C-3PO and I haven't gotten to talk to my best friend and C-3PO's biggest fan about it yet. So I'm very excited. That's our matching necklace. I'm not wearing mine. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Oh
You couldn't know. How could you know?
I couldn't know. I couldn't have known. That's
how
what makes
could
it
you
so
know?
exciting.
That really is what makes it so exciting. We were kind of freaking out about it. We had to do the thing of like, yo, we got to stop talking. We're about to talk on a show about all of this. Of course, the show is Kinda Funny Screencast, where each and every week we get together to talk about the latest in TV, movies, and trailers. And there is so much popping off right now that it's hard to even talk about it all. But we're doing Ahsoka. This is the penultimate episode. Next week will be the finale. Of course, we'll be covering it. But also next week kicks off Loki Season 2. So we'll be doing our breakdowns of those each and every week. The Boys Gen V drops this Friday.
Jesus.
Which is insane. The first 3 episodes. There is no plan right now, schedule-wise, to cover that. I would like to. So just for everybody that's asking, there is no plan. We might not.
Just like how you would like to do a Final Fantasy 16 spoiler cast.
Things are hard out here, man. Schedules and time and resources, dudes.
Yeah.
But all right, here's the thing, though. We're going to try. I'm going to see who I can get together for Gen V. Well, it'll be a whole thing. But anyways, exciting times all around. You can watch the show on youtube.com/kindafunny or roosterteeth.com. You can also get it as a podcast by searching your favorite podcast service for Kinda Funny Screencast, and we'll be right there for you. If you want to go above and beyond, patreon.com/kindafunny is where you want to go. You can get the show ad-free. You can watch things live as they're recorded. You get a whole bunch of bonus content, and you can be a Patreon producer like Nathan Lamoth, Jedi Master Deadpool, Casey Andrew, and James Hastings. Today we're brought to you by Shady Rays, Rocket Money, and DoorDash, but I'll get to all of that later. We got to talk about this damn fine episode of some Star Wars, everybody. Carboni, I'll start with you, being C-3PO's biggest fan. What'd you think of this episode?
I like this episode a lot. I like it a lot. Overall, I think it was wonderful. I think we got some really good moments that set up not only just exactly where Ahsoka is on the timeline, which we were all sort of wondering a little bit, but now we know that this is kind of going after Mando season 3. It's nice to see the Imperial remnant mentioned again. It's nice to see like all of this stuff that's been building sort of continue to build. And it was also just kind of lovely to see Ezra and Sabine together again and in a scrap. Yeah. It was wonderful.
A little squeak, of course. The signature squeak of Saige Ryan. Saige, what did you think of this episode?
God, this was an incredible episode. It took the place of my favorite episode of this season so far. Wow. We had such a strong contender a few episodes ago, and I was like, there's not going to be any chance. This is my favorite episode of the series. I'm curious to see what happens, but like, I feel so satisfied by this as an episode 7, as a like, okay, we can wrap it up. As much as I'm going to miss the show and I'm enjoying the show, so much happened in this episode that I enjoyed so much. And so many like, I feel like we elaborated on a lot of intentions. And I think that we got a absolutely stellar cameo, obviously, but delivered in such an interesting way that when we finished that first scene and then the like Ahsoka credit roll happened, I was like, I can't believe that's only the intro.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like I couldn't believe that all I had seen so far was the intro. That whole scene was phenomenal. Obviously, I'm a huge Mon Mothma fan, and it's very cool to see because we were wondering like, okay, has Mon changed? Is she like really just kind of like all business now? And she's just doing her job, and it's nice to see that she still has that like rebel spirit a little bit and is like the person you can trust still. Everything about this, every
The
character,
little
like
smirk.
I feel
Her
like
little smirk was just.
I feel like so many characters actualized in this episode for this series.
Yeah, actually, you just watched it on the plane over here.
Yeah.
Roger, can you bring up the pictures of this?
So I was flying with my best friend Kaylee Bray, and I didn't realize that she had been taking photos of me literally crying. This was the moment I saw 3PO.
Yeah.
It was hearing the voice. That was rather rude. I was just like,
Yeah.
and me just gripping my chest, staring at the screen, trying not to give her spoilers either. She's like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. It's really good." It's not a cameo I was expecting in any way. It completely caught me off guard. And it was so pleasant, and it didn't feel like shoehorned in. Like, sure, it's fan service. Thank you once again. I am a fan. I am service.
Yes. I'm gonna take it next just because I want to jump off and say I'm with you. This is also my favorite episode of the show so far, and I think that this is pretty much just peak Star Wars TV potential. Like, it kind of gave me everything that I was looking for, and I think the most surprising thing to me is how we still have an episode left, because this felt like a season finale to me. And especially the last shot where we see them and there's a big ship potentially coming to save them. They have all their little friends around them. They're all looking out at it. It's like, it felt like the end of a Star Wars movie. Like, I am surprised it didn't end with the zoom in circles.
I feel like they gave a beat just to make you feel like it was going to happen, and then they don't do it. But I wonder if they save it for the final episode.
Maybe, because I mean, we did start with the crawl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
But this felt different to me. Like, there was something about Mando season 3, one of the earlier episodes where we met the like space pirates, and we get that dogfight where we get that big rising up action with where you get the reveal of the Moss
pirate man.
Moss pirate guy.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is so cool, and this is so Star Wars. I love that this episode we got that type of dogfight of Ahsoka hiding in the whale carcasses and just like
space worm style.
And that was so good. But like, they committed to the action scene as well as committing to cameo after cameo that didn't feel forced. And I loved it because C-3PO, come the fuck on. Like, that was so awesome. I'm with y'all where it was just perfectly done. Not only because it's great to see 3PO, but also what a great way to get Leia involved in a way that feels authentic, you know, without like crossing a line. I loved that. And then when we get more Hayden, more Anakin, but it's like
So
seeing
good.
him actually in that time frame act the way that, like, you know, we all kind of wanted him to be in the movies and stuff, but he is in this.
Yeah.
When he has the line, or when she says, yeah, he recorded a whole bunch of these, I rolled so hard, but like also out of hype where I'm like, oh, we're about to get a lot more of this shit. And like, that's awesome. What a great, stupid way to write this. But then they immediately are like, but this was the last one. And I'm like, you got me, Filoni. You got me. What a roller coaster of emotions here. I love this shit. I thought this episode was awesome. Baylan is a Star Wars all-time character.
Yeah.
What's he up to? What's going on here? Shit's rad. Barrett, what'd you think?
The quote I would have actually opened up with if I had remembered to actually save that is, I don't know what I fear more, the possibility of what might happen or your unwillingness to see it. Fucking great quote from Harrison Dula. I thought this was a great episode. Not my favorite this season. I think what y'all say is absolutely true. A lot of great action, a lot of just great Star Wars. Is that mainly because we had little dudes throwing shit at big dudes? Yeah, we need that every once in a while in Star Wars. Exactly. I think my biggest thing with this, my biggest problem with the episode is that because it's a penultimate episode, and Roger and I were talking about this earlier this morning, is like, I think this episode showcased a lot of just like whatever plan that they have building up for Baylan. I don't know I'm not sold on quite yet. We still don't know what exactly he's up to. And going into the final episode, I was wishing to see a little bit more of that. Obviously, there might have been a bigger plan with Baylan as a character when Ray Stevenson was still with us, unfortunately. So I don't know how that's all going to come together now that he is passed. But that's kind of like the biggest thing. Like, if we had like 4 more episodes, I would be like a little bit more like, okay, we have a bit more time to flesh out whatever the hell he's up to. Maybe the original plan was to reveal it at the end of the season and then, really expound on it, in Heir to the Empire or whatever after that. So that was like kind of the biggest thing where I'm like, I wanted more of this for the penultimate episode, but everything else, like, I absolutely loved. I always blank on his name who plays live action Ezra. He is so Ezra.
It's weird.
It's bizarre.
Last week we were like, when Ezra finds out what Sabine is hiding from it, it's going to be such a thing. And then I watched that convo between the two of them, and I was like, no, of course it wasn't going to be a thing. He's Ezra.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
that's
he hasn't
Sabine.
really found
He doesn't
out
know yet.
He doesn't know
He doesn't know yet, but he's very much like, I understand bad things happened on the way here. Mistakes were made. It's cool. We're together again. And his delivery is just so light and so like fun.
Yeah, like the moments where he's like, wait, maybe
We can talk.
exactly this moment right here where he's like, hey, like, let's take us as prisoners. Like, that is such an Ezra moment, and Sabine just looking over at him like, you're a dipshit. Like, that is they're like, those characters together again is just so beautiful. I love the action of, like, obviously the dogfighting, also really cool, but just something else I was telling Roger earlier of just like them kind of fighting on a non-interesting looking planet felt like Filoni wanted to do, let's do a Rebels ass episode, which was a bunch of them fighting on backwater planets that don't look very interesting with still fun action, a lot of like great character moments. And that's what this episode I think largely felt like. And I definitely love it. Shout out to Asajj Ventress.
And the name drop.
Yeah.
And that
Dude, it really
name
did.
drop.
It felt like a Rebels episode. It felt more like a Rebels episode than any other thing that they've done since Rebels, which I think is very interesting. And it felt appropriate within the show, too. It didn't feel like it took anything away by being a kind of like very Rebels episode.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love the setup of where we're at here. We didn't even mention Thrawn yet.
No.
Thrawn was utterly fantastic to me in this.
Yes.
Like, it's exactly what I'd want to see. The moment you pull out a war board of any type and you have somebody just talking strategy, I'm going to be in. But when it's Thrawn doing it and there's the like big reveal thing of like, oh, no, that wasn't really the plan. I was just distracted them. I'm like, I love you, Thrawn. I want your blue
now.
babies.
In a way, we could even see this as a win. And you're just like, oh, you guys.
You guys know I was skeptical on Thrawn last week. I was like, I don't know. I think I want to be. I think I want more. I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely in. He did it 100%. The like maniacal scheming of it all.
Yes.
Is terrifying.
It is.
Do you think? And here's a big question before we get into the whole thing, but this is what I want to know, Thrawn-wise. I mean, Thrawn's the big bad in the Filoni movie, right? Like, we're leading up to Thrawn in a Thanos way. Like, we're not going to see tons of Thrawn stuff except for, like, his big plan is going to happen in the Mando movie, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think so as well. We know there's a possibility of Ahsoka season 2. This isn't decidedly a limited series, but I don't see. Like, Thrawn is just too big to be contained, I think, to any of their, like, Disney Plus series. I do think that there's got to be a movie resolution of it.
Yeah. Because they have said that's going to be called Heir to the Empire, or is that just rumors? I forget.
I don't know if that's confirmed.
rumors, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just so excited
I love
for
the book.
it. What I think is interesting is I think that that is a direction they could take of, like, be very sparing with them. But I also think that they could just, like, use him the fuck up and show him how dope he is over time. Because, I mean, now that we know that this is post-Mando Season 3, what does Mando Season 4 look like? Does it deal with this stuff? I think the most interesting thing of this episode plot-wise is where Baylan is, where Baylan
doesn't give a shit.
kind of, like, seemed to be Team Thrawn, but then clearly isn't. Like, he clearly,
Baylan's
like...
Team Baylan.
Yeah.
Which is rad, though.
Because
But, like, that
he has
moment...
said the entire show, like, the power that Thrawn would give us is like it's fleeting, right? And so he's always seen Thrawn as just like a stepping stone to get whatever to his end game is, you know.
But now that Thrawn has seen that and realized it, and the moment of him being like, didn't expect that from Baylan. It was like, that is so cool because now I'm like, all right, cool. What is going to happen with the one episode we have left? Do they get out of the galaxy or do they get stuck here? You know, the line that Ezra has of being like, wow, looks like we're going home. This is Star Wars.
Yeah.
That means that either motherfucker dies or like they ain't making it home next
You
episode.
can't cast this good of an Ezra just to have him in 3 episodes of a thing and then kill him.
You can't.
You can't.
No.
He's too good.
You can't kill him before I get to kiss him.
Those are the rules.
That's illegal.
Those are the rules.
Alyssa finally noticed this episode. She was like, "Why are his eyes blue?" And I was like, "His eyes were blue in the TV in Rebels." And she was like, "They weren't like that last week." And I was like, "They were."
They were. That's the most beautiful man in the galaxy. That is the most beautiful man in the galaxy, without a doubt.
Like running around, acting like I am in Jedi Survivor, playing a video game, just force pushing everything he can. I love that we've never really seen that before in a fight in Star Wars.
The action balance of this was so interesting because we've been exploring it through seeing Sabine use the combination of Mando technology and the little bit of like her lightsaber, potentially access to the Force.
Right.
So watching it be like everything on the battlefield of the different types of fighting that there is, of like blasters flying, Ahsoka's very unique use of lightsabers and the way that like her two-hand, like two-blade fighting is very different from everyone's, the Mando technology and him just running around throwing people into things and like the Force sense that he's using to like evade instead was such a great like showcase of Star Wars fighting.
Oh yeah.
His thing where he's like, take the saber back. No, I gave you the saber. He's like, no, no. The Force is my ally. And the way he says it is just like, no. Check this out. Like he says it like I'm gonna do a kickflip, which is what I love about
he
Ezra.
does, and it's the most Ezra-ass. Like I think I'm super cool, but also it's like a very good combination of just like classic Ezra, but also like a little bit of like a true like hermit, just weird getting in touch with the spiritual side.
Chillest dude in the galaxy.
Let me ask you guys the read on this one, because like I'm with you that I do think that it was him be like, no, I got the Force, I'm good, I've been training in this shit. But there is another perspective that potentially he feels like, no, you've been training with the saber, I haven't in so long, so I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, he also
that
says
could be
no
it
to
too.
blasters, but then eventually, like in the middle of it, he ends up just taking a blaster. So I think that was just more of like, I read it as he wanted Sabine to have as much of an arsenal as she can because that's her bread and butter.
Yeah, and also he
right.
said, I gave it to you.
Yeah.
He was like, no, I gave it to you. It's yours now. Like you've been training. Like that's your thing now.
So cool.
But I do love like if you wanted to think of a battle that was made specifically to, hey, let's rank how strong all these people are and where they're at, which is something like it's so internet, like it was built for the fans to like dissect and rank because, okay, Ezra was having problems against Shin, but only because he didn't have a saber and he was able to stop Shin's saber with his mind. And
oh my God, guys, that was so cool.
was so cool.
The Force, and then the sound design, and then you see it, I was like, holy shit.
He Kylo'd it. He Kylo'd that saber. He was like,
yeah, and that's the thing. We've been talking so much about how these Filoni shows have been, they're going to do for the sequels what the Clone Wars and whatever did for the prequels. And we just keep getting more and more of that stuff with the Ahsoka kind of using the Force to reach out and talk to Sabine. I was like, for a second, legit thought they were going to do the Kylo Rey, like they actually are in the same place together.
I love that Sabine kind of didn't get it, was like, because she's not super in touch with the Force, like
Rey
and
Kylo
are. She was like, I don't know exactly what happened. Like, she definitely had that, like, I think it's Ahsoka, but I'm not quite ready to tell Ezra because I don't know how to interpret this
I read
very
it
well
more
yet.
as I read it less as Kylo and Rey and more as Vader talking to Luke at the end of Empire, and then Luke also talking to Leia. In Empire.
It was a very Leia reaction. That's the thing that I thought of too. First of all, it was like that first time she hears Luke and she's like, oh.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
But I think that they were like hinting that it could go further when they do connect. And I'm gonna bet that we're going to see them use the like sequel shit in a future thing.
And
finally, like we get that confirmation because there's been a lot back and forth between everybody that's been watching. Has she been using the Force? Is she able to use the Force? Is she Force sensitive, or have they been coincidences? And this is like, no, she felt it.
Yes.
She heard it.
Yeah.
It's not. She's not good at it.
Right. Ahsoka wouldn't be able to reach her if she wasn't connected to the Force, at least to some extent.
Right.
Yeah.
But I agree with you on that, like doing what Clone Wars and Rebels did for the prequels. This is filling in a lot of those things because one of the complaints of like some of the Star Wars fans that love to hate Star Wars is like they're too powerful now. Before they weren't so powerful. And like, obviously, anybody who wants to enjoy the movies can go, yeah, we couldn't afford to make them that powerful. We didn't have the technology in 1977.
Right.
We can do cooler shit now. But with that, we're filling in the kind of like in between of like how powerful these people were and how powerful these people are by showing a bunch of people that have like access to some of it or like the start of that ability or have other cool abilities that I think are filling in that gap.
So I love where we're at right here, and I feel like with where the Mandoverse has been going, and now this show, it's like I've never been happier with this post Jedi content. But there is the concern that is starting to raise that I'm feel like Filoni can navigate around. But timeline wise, we're now dealing with somewhere between 7 and 10 years after Return of the Jedi, which then means we are about 20 years before Force Awakens, which means we're about 20 years before the New Republic gets taken out by the First Order, not by Imperial remnants.
No.
So what are they going to do here? That's why I'm interested in next episode. Do they get out of this galaxy, or are they going to start a storyline kind of dealing in this galaxy to allow a big bad that doesn't need to necessarily deal with the main core canon galaxy? Because then Filoni can just go buck wild and not need to worry about time and space of it all, because
That's interesting.
I mean,
I like the idea of that. Something where like they can't, there is a completely separate conflict in a separate galaxy that we don't need to worry about in terms of this like all-encompassing timeline that we're so worried. That's always in the back of your head as a Star Wars fan.
Oh, yeah. I would be a big fan of that. However, I feel like if that was the direction we were heading, they would have given us a more populated galaxy. They've given us a very sparsely populated, from what we've seen, you know. In theory, there has to be other planets.
Oh, yeah.
They've just shown us very little, so this galaxy feels very empty at this time. And it's like, well, what's a big bad to 5 friends? You know what I mean? Like, then that's all that's here. Like, what are you protecting? You know, when it's like the fate of the galaxy is in your hands, what's in the galaxy? And maybe they can build that up, but they haven't hinted at a galaxy that makes these people want to stay and protect it yet.
And there's also the seas that they've been planning, like who's the angry ginger in the sequels?
Hux.
Hux.
Oh, Hux.
His dad was in Mando season 3. I want to say as like one of the lieutenants. Also, I feel like the way that Harris says to Mon in the beginning of this episode of like, we need to be fucking prepared. Like I think they've been planting seeds. Like I think Thrawn is coming back. I think this maybe like Thrawn's idea initially is bringing back the Empire and him at the forefront of it. Obviously, he's got to fail at some point because he's not around in the sequels. But I think in that fallout, that's when we get the First Order. And I think it'd be interesting of how Sheev Palpatine kind of used the separatist movement to like find his rise in power. He is most likely going to do that again with using Thrawn's movement and then waiting for Thrawn's downfall to like use that to be a boost and like, all right, now I've got some sort of control in the galaxy again.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to keep talking about this, but real quick, here's a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by DoorDash. Did you burn your last piece of toast? Have the avocados gone bad? Is the hot sauce bottle empty? You could try grocery delivery from DoorDash. You'll get everything you want delivered when you need it right to your door. You've trusted DoorDash to deliver your restaurant favorites, and now you can get grocery delivery that actually delivers too. You already know how much all of us here at KindaFunny love DoorDash, but with thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order. You'll get exactly what you ordered, or they'll make it right. You want even more value? You can save on all of your grocery and restaurant favorites with a $0 delivery fee on all eligible orders with a DashPass membership. With easy substitutes right in the app and best-in-class customer support, you can get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to a $20 value when you use code KINDA at checkout. That's 50% off up to $20, no minimum subtotal, and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code KINDA. Don't forget, that's code KINDA for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. This episode is brought to you by Shady Rays. Take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. Durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase. Every purchase supports the Shady Rays Impact Program, which works directly with nonprofits and their communities to empower and make adventure accessible for all walks of life. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. You can go to shadyrays.com and use code KindaFunny for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. You can try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Again, that's shadyrays.com. Use the code KindaFunny. This episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending and it helps you lower your bills all in one place. And it has surprised multiple of my friends and people at KindaFunny how many subscriptions they have that they forgot they are still paying for. That's why I'm such a big fan of Rocket Money. It's so easy to cancel the ones you don't want with just the press of a button. No more long hold times or annoying emails with customer service. Rocket Money does all the work for you. Rocket Money can even negotiate to lower your bills for you by up to 20%. All you have to do is take a picture of your bills and Rocket Money will take care of the rest. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and manage your money the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/kindafunny. That's rocketmoney.com/kindafunny. One more time, rocketmoney.com/kindafunny. Go for it, Carboni.
No, I think that's exactly where we're heading. It's just, I think the fun thing is trying to figure out how Palpatine winds up. Like, listen, all we know, and it's canon and it's been said out loud, is somehow Palpatine has returned.
Yeah.
Is Palpatine the Emperor died? So they say.
So they say.
So they say.
I loved that.
Did it end? Yeah, on Endor. Oh, you sweet summer child.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about a planet called Jakku and what's about to go down there. but yeah,
Wait till you
I
hear
love
about
this
Expo.
idea
Oh
of
God, don't get me started.
unless you're an avid Fortnite player, you don't know much about the message that Palpatine sent or what was going on, you know? So I think that there's something fun to show. I think there's something they're setting up with Andor and with the stuff that they're doing with the Imperial remnant. They're setting up something that's really, really fun that they haven't done yet in Star Wars, which is a grand scale, giant political intrigue, like multi-series, going through different shows, going through different conflicts. We really, in the films, we skip to the big fun space battles.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I love that we're going to have to figure out, like, oh, well, what's the Imperial remnant and all of these people like Moff Gideon and oh God, I forget what the Imperial officer's name was who killed our good doctor or brain wiped our good doctor. But there are all these like Imperial spies, and then we know that Thrawn's working with people. Are they all working together? Are they working separately? Where are the alliances going to come in?
Yeah.
We know that Carson Teva, for the first time, stands up in the middle of a meeting and goes, "Hey, no. Like, this is important."
What
which
about
is
on
not a very
Mandalore?
Carson Teva move.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, what about Mandalore?
Yeah, and then there's the
You know?
guy, the dude in the green in the opening scene that is the dad from
Senator Ziono.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
which is
Kaz's
interesting
dad.
because like the way he's acting, it's like, oh, you're a bad guy. Like
I know. I was
you're a
thinking the
sneaky little
same
spy
thing.
boy. But then it's like
And I'm not familiar with Resistance, so I don't know what his
I'm
role
only
is.
familiar from reading wikis of
Yeah.
it, but it sounds
Yeah.
like he doesn't turn. Like it sounds
yeah.
like the son
I'll
is-
push my glasses up for a second.
Yes, let's go.
I love Resistance. I love Kaz, and I love Kaz's dad. But Kaz's dad is very, he's very straight-laced and authoritative, and very like by the book and by the rules. And so he doesn't like any shenanigans.
Okay.
And so all of these things that are happening until it's almost like he is the flip of the officer that Dedra had to report to in Andor, where it's like, if you can't bring me proof, then I can't do anything and stop asking me to because we have jobs to do.
Yeah.
Like we're spending people's money and we're spending people's time, and you have to stop being ridiculous. And so I think he comes off as a bad guy because we know what's going on. But from the point of view of like a very straight-laced bureaucrat,
Yeah.
it's like, nah, dude, you got to knock this shit off.
And realistically, there's a lot of bad guys with good intentions. And that's one of the things I talk about all the time. Star Wars is my favorite when Star Wars is political. I'm a big fan of that. It's the reason why I look at this series and I'm like, this is peak Star Wars, but Andor is my favorite in the way that it like deals with the conflict and stuff like that. Like, I don't think anything's going to top Andor for me as a Disney Plus series because it's so rooted in the things that I love about Star Wars. So in conversations like this, where we get into the like, okay, there is grand evil and there is like grand good, and then now we're exploring the in-between, we also have to explore the people with neutral intentions. Neutrality is death for people. Like neutrality is going to get people killed. And sitting in the place of like, oh, well, I follow the rules and the people that don't follow the rules are continually the people that save the galaxy, and the like complexities of that. This guy is doing a bad thing by not trusting and believing her. You see why, and you see why it's just bureaucratic, but it's going to get people killed. So that's also the feeling of like, yeah, I mean, because he is bad.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
that is
And
bad.
from his perspective, like, well, from my perspective, it's the Jedi who are evil. No, from his perspective, it's hey, if you run off, because we saw a couple of those ships as they went to help out Hera. We saw a few of those ships. Some of those pilots went down.
Yeah.
So from Senator Ziono's point of view, you're also killing people.
Yeah.
So like the neutrality and the complacency kills people, but from his point of view, also
Recklessness.
this hot shot like run and gun is killing people. Also, is what about the conflict on Mandalore now our new what about the droid attack on the Wookiees?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
What
Yes,
about
it
the
is.
conflict on Mandalore? I also thought it was interesting that he was questioning Hera of like, you know, I feel like you're just doing all of this for personal gain. It's like, for what?
I was thinking the same
What
thing. I
personal
was
gain? What
waiting for
what
that.
does she get out of
I
this?
was waiting for anybody to be like, what is she gaining
Like, I
from
wanted
that?
you to follow up of like, follow up
For
on that.
what?
Expound.
No, yeah.
Speak
What do
more
you
on that.
think
No,
I'm-
but that is the
What do you think I
that
get
is
here?
the statement of somebody who is doing things for personal gain, and you can
is.
see
Oh,
like
yeah.
he's gunning. And listen, this is a thing. He's just gunning for political power a little bit.
Yeah.
As this new system is solidifying, and you can see like you disobeyed orders. No, I disobeyed you.
Yeah.
They're setting up a new
Yeah.
government, and in this new government, are the senators allowed to tell the military what to do?
Right.
What
They're
you
still
know?
figuring that out.
You know, they hear this thing from Leia. Leia's the head of like the defense council.
Everybody,
right? That's
Ben's Anita Leia.
yeah. So we find out that she's the head of like the defense council here, and so we know that there is somebody who's supposed to approve these things, and it's not Senator Ziono. So
Here's a question.
what's going on in the government?
Anthony,
You know?
this is a lore question that you might have the answer to. Is Senator Ziono new here? Do we have any other references, or is this a new character?
Senator Ziono is new, except for the fact that he was introduced in Resistance as Kaz's dad.
Okay.
So we know that he's Kaz's dad. We know that we know that he's from Hosnian Prime. Kaz's whole family is from Hosnian Prime, that the new Alderaan that got blown up.
Right.
And he definitely like has been around but hasn't done much in continuity yet.
Did we see him in Mando season 3, or was his first appearance in live action?
I think it was here.
Ahsoka, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like one of the earlier episodes.
The reason I asked too is because you're running up against this too of a new government of people that are forming that were not part of the conflict of taking down the Empire.
Yeah.
And then you have Mon Mothma, who's like, I know better than to be like, oh, that's fairy tales. This can't happen. Like,
Right.
there's nothing off the table. And we're not going
Right.
to pretend like evil is not going to recongeal in front of us
Yeah.
if we're just following
I
the
mean,
rules.
speaking of that, the magic of it all, right?
Yeah.
Like we saw a lot of it in the last couple episodes, but the three witches and
So
like,
cool.
just their
Ooh.
just obedience to Thrawn was like really interesting to me, where I'm like,
Yeah.
he has control over them. Like he said jump and they said how high. And I just thought that was interesting, where like, where do those the loyalty lines fall on this. And like we already saw with Baylan, he was loyal until he wasn't to Thrawn.
Right.
What about them? Like, what is their end goal
motivation
with all of this? Because like it's interesting that there's the 3, and then there's the I forget her name, but the Morgan, right?
Yeah.
And you see her, she really feels like Thrawn's like biggest cheerleader. Like she's there like mouthing everything, and it kind of
I love that moment too, because it's the 3 like mothers, and they're doing the ritual, and Morgan's like the kid at like the other table, like I want to join.
No, it honestly felt like in Mean Girls when the mom is like recording them and singing along and dancing, as you know,
totally pageant momming it. Yeah.
I definitely believe that they're super, like you see the way that Thrawn speaks to them, and he speaks to them with such deference and reverence, even as he's ordering them around. So he understands their power, which is something I really love. And I think there is this thing where it is mutually beneficial, like you're saying, Tim. I think you're on the right. You have the right instinct there, where it's like, we need this guy with his spaceship to get us to the planet where all of the Night Sisters are now, so we can get the Coven back together and really do some messed up space magic. And we will super do whatever you say as long as you're getting us back there. And we defer to you because you know spaceships and we know how to draw triangles that find Jedis.
I also think it seems like they believe in Thrawn's vision of it. I think so too. The way that they interact with magic and the way that they foresee things, I think there is an alignment with the way that Thrawn does strategy there that makes sense as a partnership. So I see them also wanting to follow to Thrawn's vision. Like, we're going to get our stuff and it's mutually beneficial, but I think they also want the future that Thrawn is laying out.
There's a mutual respect there. They're definitely aligned, but I think the moment they're both back in their elements, when Thrawn's back in the galaxy where he knows he can order more people around, and they're back on their planet and they're closer to other witches, I think everything changes, with that power dynamic.
Really quick.
That's what I'm excited about when I'm talking about these like long-term political things. There are all these factions that are starting up right now. So many factions. I love
Take a hard left turn from interesting political stuff. I'm not convinced the Stormtroopers are zombies. I'm not convinced.
No.
Yeah?
I don't think so. I think they're dudes.
I'm pretty convinced. I feel like him being like, what was the line? The time's very much on our side now, and I shall keep it that way. I love Thrawn like talking all about that, but like the whole thing of like the distractions to get all the whatever it is, the corpses, right?
I don't know.
Like,
I mean, stormtroopers are always treated as expendable in everyone who's ever had a stormtrooper, regardless of if they were people, if they were clones, whatever.
If we don't get a face reveal of one of these stormtroopers next week, I'm going to say they're just dudes.
Yeah?
Because I feel like it's got to be like a point.
That's the law. If you're a zombie, you have to tell me.
I don't know, man.
That's right.
Like having Enoch sound that way.
But the rest of them sounded normal. Like there were stormtrooper chatter this episode, and they sounded pretty normal. But Enoch's also got a cool mask, so maybe it's just the voice distortion that's going on.
Is cool.
But
the voice is so cool.
The distortion on it is also very cool. So then it's like, is Enoch someone specific that has been resurrected? Because that would be very interesting. It has that like Game of Thrones. We've resurrected the mountain to.
I kind of hope
not.
Yeah.
No, don't do that.
I don't think it would be interesting. I don't know.
I don't want him to be anybody that we've seen before, I don't think.
I just want him to be a cool, weird dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Merrick thing where everybody was like, Merrick has to be somebody important. I was like, no, let him be Merrick.
Yeah.
Let him be Merrick.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about this. It could just be that these are the remnant troopers that are still loyal to Thrawn, and like the reason why their stuff looks so messed up is they've been
living here
their armor with things that are around the planet.
Yeah.
I think it's cool if they're an undead army. I think it's cool if they're not, because we know eventually there's some sort of undead stuff happening.
I hope so.
Magic in the first act.
I hope they're zombies.
Yeah.
I don't know if they are, but I hope so.
I am with you though that like potentially maybe not all of them are, but like I think that like the next phase they will be.
I could see of like, especially of whatever they're transporting out of this temple that they've been taking like 3 rotations to transport up to the big hyperspace ring. There's got to be something there that'll eventually lead to the resurrection of Big Palpy. But yeah, I'm not sure if the troopers themselves are big.
Do you know what it is?
I love it when you call me Big Palpy.
Yeah. all of those crates are a different piece of that giant robot arm that he's on.
Oh yeah, the big
Oh,
one.
The
God.
big robot armature that like moves Palpatine around in Episode 9. That's what they're. That's
so
what they're
many
bringing.
things that could have been
Techno
cool.
crane.
Yep. I want to shout out the slingshot. I love that the little hermit dudes have a slingshot because you know what Ezra's first weapon was in Rebels?
There
It was
you
a
go.
slingshot.
That's
so
right.
of course he taught them how to
funny.
make slingshots, and
Yeah.
they're not effective, just like Ezra's.
If I could
If
just
we
shout
leave this
something out.
galaxy, I'm gonna miss the Noti. I'm
Oh,
gonna
I'm gonna
miss
miss
those
the
little
Noti.
turtles.
So much.
I love them, but I also feel fulfilled. I feel like I was so worried. So this is like the actualization of Sabine's story to me is also like Sabine came here. Sabine has like endangered everyone, including the Noti. And I was like, oh, where are we going with this? Like, have you brought like war to this peaceful community that Ezra's been leading? I was very glad that they were all okay, but
There was
in
one
that,
shot that I was scared.
I was so worried.
When the shot of the little thing goes, I was like, did they just headshot this motherfucker?
I was so worried. And it would have been a very interesting like commentary on her like reckless choices and what the consequences of them are. I'm glad we didn't go that way. But the reunion between Ahsoka and Ezra.
I hated it.
Really?
Hated it.
Ooh, why did
Absolutely
you hate
hated
it?
Like, it continues to show me that, hey, I'm going to take the heat for this. I don't like Ahsoka.
Whoa.
Never have. Never really will. And
Fascinating. I
think
didn't
that
know
things
this.
like this, where her coming back and I thought you were like, I thought she was dead. And missed this reunion. It's like, oh no, I don't like that.
What about
I
it?
just don't. To me, it just feels that is like the bad side of, oh yeah, it's just like the cartoon, but it's live action. Where it's like, I feel like you need to plus that type of writing up for it to feel natural and real, because it just feels like cartoon characters talking.
Interesting.
And I feel like so much of what we've seen of it, again, I continue to think Sabine's really good and interesting in the show, and Ahsoka's just kind of there. And every time that Ahsoka's around, I'm way more interested in literally anybody else she's talking to. Like her and Huyang, give me Huyang all day, all day. Give me Hayden Christensen's freaking hologram talking to her. There's just something about the way that she's presented in this show that I just am not vibing with. And I feel like it's almost purposeful of just kind of like using her as the conduit to get all the other pieces together. But yeah, the reunion moment for me, like it felt very like this is for the plot, less like this.
My read on it was to not was for her to not discuss what had happened maybe right away with Ezra. It felt like a very like her delivery of it felt very like I'm putting on a show right now kind of thing. So I get where you're coming from, but I also completely disagree.
I
also completely disagree. I loved the reunion moment. I thought that it was very, very sweet. I thought that it was like a moment of reprieve in some of the chaos. I agree that it is the like, we're going to have to deal with this and I'm going to have to go back to being business Ahsoka in a second, but like for just a second.
And they're hug,
I'm going to be happy that you're here, and the hug between them felt very genuine. I also
because the
think
last time they saw each other was when Ezra saved her from Vader.
Exactly. I also think that a lot of people are not going to like Ahsoka because they haven't done the traditional TV tropes of trying to make a woman likable. There's a lot of steps that like Star Wars and all fantasy franchises, all franchises that have predominantly male audiences take to make women likable and like fit into one of three categories. And when people don't go out of their way to decide how you feel about a woman, a lot of the time she comes across as like nothing to a lot of people, or as like, oh, I prefer like the men in the scene or anyone else in the scene. And she is like passive in a lot of these because she is a person moving the pawns and not necessarily one of the characters of the show itself.
I don't know so much about that though. Like
I think I see kind of what you're saying, Tim. Whereas Boba Fett felt in the Boba Fett series like somebody who was there to orchestrate the fact that Boba Fett was there. You know what I mean?
Sometimes,
I
if he was
get what
even
you're
there.
saying. It's like, yeah, but I sort of get what you're saying, and I understand where that moment in particular, some of the things about Ahsoka in this episode could have seemed emotionally incongruous with the other things that we've seen from her in the rest of this series. But I think there are a couple things that are different about it. Number one is like we are post her realization with Anakin, which is a huge deal and was a huge emotional moment for her. And so I think that's allowed her to sort of like recenter and find herself a little bit again. Whereas in the beginning of the series, she was all crossed arms and deadpan delivery all the time.
Yeah.
I think the reconnection to Anakin was good. And I think honestly, as much as she avoids it, being back in battle and being back in in a Jedi situation
Yeah.
is also good for her.
With-
She
with
learned from
friends,
Anakin
too.
Skywalker. She loves to like go into a fight with her friends and be a little bit of a hotshot. And I think this is the moments where she has been the best and kind of the most Ahsoka to me in this show are the moments where she's gotten to hotshot a little bit, where she got to fight with Merrick, where she got to like
Jump out on the
tell Hu
ship.
Yang, like,
Right.
hey,
Flip around.
don't mess up my cool Iron Man 3-point landing here like
Yeah.
you did last time.
I need
you
an
know what I mean?
Ahsoka
Like,
Hu Yang like roommate show.
Yeah, right?
I need
Yes.
it
A buddy
so
cop comedy,
fucking
yeah.
bad. It's
I
so,
think
they're so
that-
funny.
What this show is about is how that has been taken from her to some extent.
Mhm.
Like, I think that
Yeah.
this first season of Ahsoka is showing you that, like, the events of this have had harrowing effects on who she is, and she has had to take this place of, like, dead inside neutrality, that she is slowly, like, recapturing bits of herself because this is getting back into her element.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I'll tell
I
you
loved
what, if
her.
I was
The
Sabine-
dogfight was incredible. Like
Ugh,
her jumping
so
out with all
good.
this stuff. I just did again.
Yeah.
I didn't love the cockpit stuff. Like
Yeah.
anytime it showed her in it, I was like, I believe you as a character here. The way
Yeah.
you're showing this, I don't believe in this performance. And like, it's those things that add up to me of just kind of just feeling like, ah, man, like I just wish it was. There's something that's not clicking. But go for it.
yeah. No, I was gonna say if I was Sabine in that moment where there was the big hug and the laugh, and it's like, oh, I'd never miss this reunion, and like, hey, Ezra, I'm so happy to see you, Ezra. And if I was Sabine, I'd be like, motherfucker, you told me
not to come.
You told me to shoot a marble and kill Ezra. How dare you? Like, I think that's the thing that came off emotionally incongruous in that scene to me, and that might be what you're feeling is like there is
Definitely.
because she and Sabine and Ezra haven't spoken about what's actually happening, because Ahsoka and Sabine had so much conflict over even rescuing Ezra.
Mhm.
I get where like the smiles and the happy hug can feel a little cartoonish, but also we're going to see more of the fallout of this. It's okay to be happy to see your friend in the moment.
Right,
you
and
know?
we all know the complexities of it, that it's not like Ahsoka was like, I want Ezra dead, screw that guy. It was, I'm trying to protect the most amount of people, and we cannot release Thrawn to get to Ezra,
Right.
which is true and correct and absolutely like the logical choice in this. So like,
Yeah.
she also, to me, what this revealed is like, man, she was going against what she wanted to. Of course she wanted to get to Ezra. Of course she feels that way because of their last interaction. And like, she's having to be this like leader in this capacity, and what she wanted doesn't matter. And you see the like balance of like Sabine's like, but these are my feelings and this is what I want.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka's like, you have no idea what I want. Of course I want that too, but I
Yeah.
have to make this like choice of sacrifice.
Yeah, someone posted on Twitter just like the last thing Ezra says to her in Rebels, which is just "come find me," and it's like, it fucking hits.
on.
It fucking hits. One of my last notes that I have is Sabine and Ezra are the true dyad. That's all. I'm not
Yeah.
going to elaborate further,
Yeah.
but this is how
No.
I felt in the moment.
That's fair. That's a forced dyad. We all know what it is, and we all know what it means. It's something that we've all known for the history of Star Wars. There's always been forced dyads, and there always will be.
Yep.
The only thing that the only shot that weirded me out, you want to talk about like one of those weird cartoon shots, Tim, is they cut during everybody's reactions. They cut to just a shot of Hu Yang behind the cockpit for a moment, and there's nothing funnier to me than when they show a droid in Star Wars staying perfectly still with no one to interact with, because you just look at it and you're like, that's a fucking puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also that is what he'd be doing.
Now speaking
I
of that
know,
though,
but it's so funny though, because he's just like,
yeah, that is very funny. The flip side of that.
Are you
was
talking about
Chopper.
the jump cut or what?
Oh yeah.
Chopper's
In the
just
like
killing it. Him just getting pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm taking that personally.
right from just a droid.
so good.
Yeah.
From but a
Wop, 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 wop.
droid.
Yeah.
That was messed up. The scene that bothered me actually in this episode was when Ahsoka jumps out of the plane and is like timing it with Hu Yang and the thing flattens. There's a weird flippy in there, and Star Wars TV loves to mess up a flip.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why they're like a
Lizzo's
flip is
here.
something we do in movies and TV all the time.
Yeah.
Why do Star Wars flips always look so silly?
no,
Why are they
they've never
always
done a flip
so
wrong.
bad?
They've never done a flip wrong, and
Like,
they never will.
I
There's
rewound it
the Grogu
and watched
flip.
it again.
Perfect
Grogu flip is perfect.
Right.
Luke flip.
The Ahsoka flip that's added in post.
What's the
Perfect flip.
new Sith from Andor? That was like leading the charge. She's like one of the main
Sith
Lieutenant.
Andor.
Oh no, I'm sorry, not Andor. In
Obi-Wan. You're talking about the
I'm talking
Inquisitor.
about Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
I am
Right.
talking
one of
about
the,
Obi-Wan. She also
yeah.
did a weird flip on the roof that looked really
did. She
weird.
Did do
All
flip.
flips is
No.
weird in Star Wars, and I don't get it. It's such a simple like
All
stunt.
perfect.
And it's
Nothing
so
wrong.
weird, and it almost feels like they switched to CGI in the middle of it. And I literally rewound it and watched it again because I'm like, did it just glitch? Like, did my playback have an error? It's so weird.
No, look. 3PO can do them too, and it looks normal and good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Every flip is good.
Something that was done maybe on purpose that I just absolutely loved is when Ahsoka sent to Sabine. Sabine sent to Ahsoka. Ahsoka's like, I found her, and then scary jump cuts to the Night Sister being
Yeah.
like, we found her.
her.
That was such a
Yeah.
like, oh
That was
Jesus
cool.
Christ.
That
It was
cool.
a good match cut.
Yeah.
I
Good
also
match
love
cut.
the we have cover from the whales, and then they all start like.
I was so
getting out.
scared for the whales.
Dude, yeah, it was a little mess up. Like, no, we got cover. Yeah, your homies that are helping you
That
are
got
all
you
getting
here.
shot
Yeah.
down, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that's a little
Listen.
fucked up.
Somebody's got to shoot down those whales, so Obi-Wan's got sushi to make. You know what I mean?
That is true.
yeah.
I did love seeing them jump away though, and their like tails like did the little. Like,
I
Yeah.
love the tales. I love like again this whole back and forth between Ahsoka and Hu Yang gave me a roommate show ASAP where he's talking about astronomically terrible odds and just them yelling at each other. It's good.
I
Oh,
loved
the fact
it.
where she's using sarcasm on a droid who like is clearly not. Where it's just like, well, you should have said something. I did say
did.
something. She's like, did you?
I love that. I love that development of his character. I love seeing her smile. I love seeing her make a joke.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that interaction in the ship so much.
Yeah.
She felt more complete in this episode, and I think it's because
journey.
she's started making those, like you're saying, Sage. She's reconnected to who she is, and she's making those emotional decisions, and she's getting a little bit more of her she's just getting a little bit of her mojo back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all.
Ahsoka's
can
new
we
groove.
talk about the thing that was found on the internet last week? We're talking about the mystery of Baylan's skull.
Yeah.
What's he up
Our
to?
favorite new character. Somebody took a look at Baylan Skull's wrist readout, and you can see it in the second photo, Raj. He's got a list. Why's he got that list?
To me, this has to explain a little bit of why he split off to go meet up with Ahsoka. I don't know. There's a very interesting thing we saw in this episode. Thrawn make the realization that Anakin was her mentor, and it just feels like there's a couple of things that are like
I loved that too.
slowly clicking together. Yeah, right. His reaction to it was
Oh, that
really interesting.
moment.
Yeah.
I thought
where
that
he
was
just-
Yeah,
really
so
he
for
doesn't say
audio
anything.
listeners here, Baylan's little like wrist piece it says Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, C-3PO, R2-D2, and Ben. So it
Ben.
could just be a fun little like type of Easter
Yeah.
egg.
There are two Bens
like,
running around right now too.
they're just having fun, but this could be a plot thing, and I kind of hope that it is. I think this is really cool and interesting.
I feel like it is. I feel like they know better. They know what we're gonna do. They know we're gonna look at it, and for it just to be like, haha, you know
I
those
mean, I
guys.
do feel like there's a lot of examples though of
Yeah.
other times where people point it
just,
out,
like,
and then
cheeky.
it's just kind of
Yeah.
like, just, like,
Yeah.
cheeky
But
You
shit.
never know.
The
It's
bad
like
guy's
it's like how
I mean, come on, I'm with you.
it's like how our guy has Indiana. No, you got it. You saved it. It was cool. It's like how our guy in Andor has the idol from Indiana Jones in his shop. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, but that's different. That's like an incongruous little detail that they'll put in for like, hey fans, isn't this fun?
Yeah.
This is a list of the freaking Skywalker
Crew.
like
Yeah.
crew.
So what is this a list of though? Let's think about this
Hit list.
time wise though, right?
Yeah.
Like this guy in a 7 years removed from Jedi world
Mhm.
is Ben not Kenobi? Is it Solo?
I think it's Solo.
Yeah. I
So
read
what
it
does
as
that
Solo.
mean then?
Mhm.
Like if this list is real, like think about that. Like
I mean,
when would Ben
again,
be
my
born?
theory is that these are the like Baylan and Shin are going to be like the kind of proto versions of the Knights of Ren or whatever. I don't know what that all means and where that leads to, and where that leads to Ben Solo and all that stuff. I know that there's the Origin Kylo Ren comic that gets into him joining the Knights of Ren, which I don't really remember. I remember that I read it, but yeah.
Ben Solo
I
was
remember that he
born.
looked cool as heck in it.
Ben was born
his Dark
5
Ben
years
Solo.
after the Battle of Yavin,
So he's alive.
so he's very much alive.
Wait,
Yeah.
after the Battle of Yavin?
So that might be.
that doesn't.
So
So it would have
that
been like a
might
year
be-
after Jedi,
Yeah.
Okay.
right?
that might be Ben Kenobi then. He might know that Obi-Wan is hiding out. Like, it could be like, because he's like, who did Luke Skywalker travel with?
No, but
well,
Ben's
there's
dead.
this guy, Ben
Kenobi's
Kenobi.
dead.
There was
Yeah,
this guy-
Kenobi's dead.
Yeah, that's true.
Kenobi's dead at this
That's
point.
true.
So I think it's Ben Solo. I'm with
So
you
it's
on
got to
that.
be Ben Solo.
I think that it is. I also think that like if it was like he wouldn't put Ben because Ben was just his cover name. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
Obi-Wan. Like that
Right.
would be weird. It's not like, oh, I know your secret name. It's like
You're right.
And I was like,
You're
And
right.
especially because he was part of the Jedi Order. Like,
yeah.
he probably
probably
knew
knew
Obi-Wan, so
Obi-Wan.
that would be the name on his little
Maybe he was
wristwatch.
running out of space on his wrist thing, so he
That's
just
true.
used the nickname.
Yeah,
You know, it fits so
he
many
ran out of a
letters.
character count, and he was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's most likely that it's just a fun Easter egg that doesn't actually have to do with anything. But I do really love the idea.
I mean, it could be it could be a hint of like whatever he is up to, which
Yeah.
is what I
Look,
want more of.
We don't know his
He wants-
motivations yet.
Lasting power is what we know.
Yeah.
Right? He wants lasting power. This is a crew that together basically took out the Emperor.
Mhm.
Right? Took out Palpatine, who's been the big bad for Baylan's entire life. Right? This is a guy who took out the Order, and then these guys took out him. So I wonder, like, if Baylan is searching for power, maybe he's searching for them for a specific reason. I don't know. Whether it's a hit list or whether it's like what do I have to get from them? What can I glean from them? Like, who knows?
Or maybe it's just like, what can I learn like from
Yeah.
them, and just like in simple things. Because like if those are people he's after, why is he obsessed with going to a different galaxy to find out what this planet has to offer, kind of stuff too. So
I have a motivation question I want to pose to the group. When he splits off from Shin and is like, you do the thing, you're going to look really good to Thrawn, I got to go do my thing. It seems like he goes to find Ahsoka, right?
Mhm.
We don't see him force sense Ahsoka. We don't see him do any of that. And when she lands, he says it's a surprise.
see, I didn't. When he says you go do your thing, I'm gonna go do mine. I didn't read that as him trying to find Ahsoka.
So then
there's
what is he
something
going
on
to
this
do?
planet that
Right.
he's like
Yeah.
into, and yeah, it is just like a weird happenstance. The Force brings them together, and he's like,
Yeah.
oh shit. Because then
Yeah.
after Ahsoka runs away, he's like deep in thought, like in a very interesting way, and he's like,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna walk stage left. And like that's just like, wait, what are you up to,
here's
man?
what- I'm interested in this because I like the mystery. I feel like this is the good type of like, we're going to leave this open for people to theorize and
Yeah.
talk about.
Yeah.
And I hope it's not all buttoned up next week. Like, I think worst case scenario is he's killed off next week. Like, I honestly,
But
I know
that's
this might
like
not be a
but-
popular take.
But then it's then we're running into the problem, and this is the unfortunate thing with Ray Stevenson passing is like,
Yep.
we're gonna have, if he doesn't die next week, we're gonna have to get a message of on the way to his home planet, Poochie died, kind of thing.
Or
You know?
recast him. I feel like that's simple enough with where we're at with
We
this
don't
character.
see Star Wars do a lot of that.
But we do. We just also don't. Like
Hey,
they didn't with Luke,
can I
but
tell
they
you
did with
something that
Han
could
Solo.
Could I tell you something that could happen knowing Star Wars?
Mm.
A lot of people get into fights and wind up needing helmets and stuff for the rest of
Straight
their
up,
lives.
Knights of Ren.
That's true. That's very true.
That
And
would be
the
nice.
other thing is of like maybe whatever Baylan is looking for, maybe he fails, but his Padawan, who is so focused on one thing in her master's kind of death, in respect for him,
Can
wants to
finish
pick
it.
up that path
Yeah.
or whatever. Because I
Yeah.
think where they left Shin in this episode was very interesting, especially with Ahsoka trying to reach out to her at the end of like, hey, like it's not too late for you, and then her deciding to kind of run away with like her master's words like in the back of her head of like, what was it, like impatience like leads to like
Yeah.
swift defeat.
Yeah.
We're gonna get a
She
callous
plays
move from
conflict.
her.
She plays conflict on her face really well.
Yeah.
she's
so
really
good.
good at that.
She's great.
I love her.
Love her.
I feel like we're setting up something that I am worried that they aren't prepared to finish this season because they weren't expecting the actor to pass away, which makes sense. They were setting something up potentially for Ahsoka season 2. We might be getting more into like his motivations in that. I think that handling it through a recasting would probably be a very satisfying way for fans. But most of the time when Star Wars recast, it's like, oh, we're casting a younger version of you, or we're casting a
Yeah.
this or a voice or whatever. We don't see a lot of just character replacement.
I hope we don't see
Yeah.
him next episode at all.
Ooh,
Damn.
interesting.
I hope it's
you want
just
that
like-
mystery open.
Mystery's open. There's a lot of shit going on. We have so much to deal with. I think that him walking away, we know he is doing something.
Yeah.
I think that is more interesting than knowing what he's doing in one
Yeah.
episode.
I think
Yeah.
we will
Tied with
see
a
him
bunch of
just
other
because of like how Thrawn was so taken aback by it
Yeah.
as well. So but of
Yeah.
how much Who knows?
I don't think we
But
get.
I
I
do
don't
like
think
that.
we get a ribbon on it though. I don't think he gets wrapped up. I don't think there's
Right.
any way.
Unless he gets
Yeah,
killed.
no.
Unless
I
unless
hope
he
he
gets
does.
killed, which again would be, in my
Such a
opinion,
good
circumstantial.
character.
I don't think that sounds like
Hey.
a plan.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. What if he finds the thing he's looking for on this planet, whatever this great power is, and the great power destroys him? Like, and now we have a hint at some great powerful thing that's out there. That we
What
don't
if
really
the great
know about.
power is the Bendu?
I mean,
Oh,
honestly,
we got Bendu.
I do think that is I don't want to say the most likely, but I think that is a likely
possibility.
possibility there. I think that with where we're going,
90%
it's funny
Bendu
with,
is what you're saying?
what's up?
You're saying 90% Bendu? You're saying it's probably about
Fucking
like
90%
that's the most
Bendu, baby. No, I feel like the thing about power with this character that's interesting is like he kind of has been going out of his way to show it's not about him wanting power. So like I do think that there's a potential that he just wants to be in this other galaxy away from all this shit, and he's just piecing out, hermiting himself, and
Yeah.
like being like, "Yo, this is my galaxy."
He wants power for Shin.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, Shin wants this, and she's the apprentice. Now she's not." Like he kind of had that moment of like letting her go.
But he did also have like that whole monologue of like the cycle repeating of back and forth between the light side, dark side, Empire, Republic, and all this stuff. And it seems like in that monologue a couple episodes ago that he's obsessed with the idea of like stopping that somehow. Maybe that is a personal, just like
Right.
I'm fucking done with
I
it.
There's
beat it
something
by
he
not being a
wants.
part of it.
I don't know,
but-
because Shin said like, "Well, aren't we the ones? That's what we're doing. We're going to stop the cycle." And he was like, He was like, I don't know. I think it's less about stopping the cycle for him and more about recognizing it and, I don't know, either being ahead of it or being in control of it.
Hmm.
I don't think the power he wants is the power that we think of when we think of a Sith necessarily.
Right.
No,
But he's after something big.
Let's wrap this episode
Like
up.
the Bendu.
Like
there
the
he
Bendu.
is.
Hey,
boy.
it's definitely big.
Let's wrap this up with one question: yes or no?
Mm.
By the end of next episode, do they make it out of the galaxy?
Not all of them, but most of them, yes.
I'm also saying yes, and I would agree that somebody's getting left behind.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
It's
I
going
don't
to be
think they
Hu
all get
Yang,
out
and
of
it's going to
there.
be real sad.
Oh
Yeah.
No.
no!
It's gonna be who?
Hu Yang, and it's going to be really
I
sad.
was thinking the same thing,
'cause
but
he
I didn't
just
want to
said-
say it.
He just said they're all together again. Oh no!
Yeah.
He wasn't a part
His
of
whole
it.
thing is I told them to stay together. I told them.
I refuse. What do you think?
I just feel like Ezra is not making it back. I just don't, and I don't think they kill him. But because
No.
of that, I don't think they get out.
I could see after harsh conversations,
Yeah.
him being like, I don't know if I have a place here anymore. I've got my hermit boys. I gotta take care of them.
No, Iman is too beautiful, and his
He's
contact
so
lenses
beautiful.
are too piercing. You
Yeah.
don't throw that away.
I mean, I don't know. I could see if he stays, it is I have to make this choice again. You've brought all of this here, and now I have to make the same choice again in order to protect the galaxy. I don't think it's a like, oh, I think I'll just stay. Like he wants to go home. If
Yeah.
he's staying, it is because
Ahsoka
he
or
has
Sabine.
to redo it.
Ahsoka or Sabine make the choice that Ezra made, get stuck on the planet when everybody leaves. Little book ending. It's called ring storytelling. Look it up.
Fuck.
Sabine.
Rhymes.
The rhymes, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let us know in the comments below what you think is going to happen next week on the season finale of Ahsoka. It has been quite the ride with everybody. Saige, thank you for joining us. Where can people find you?
You can find me everywhere on the internet at NotSage or twitch.tv/Pixel Circus, where I host a show with Anthony.
And you can also find Saige this Friday on twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames and youtube.com/KindaFunny, where we are doing our very first D&D adventure. She's going to be part of it. It's going to be fantastic. We're not talking about the theme
The
of
theme
it
is a
yet.
secret.
The theme is a secret, but you're going to want to see it. It's going to be a good time. Carboni, where can people find you?
Oh, my stars. Thank you for asking. You can find me everywhere online at A Carboni, except for on Twitch, where I'm at Anthony Carboni. And you can find my science comedy podcast at wehaveconcerns.com. Thank you so much.
For those on the podcast, we've got a 3PO doll.
Until next time, I love you all. Goodbye.